You've probably heard that ADHD is just a focus problem, that people with ADHD just need to try harder or stay off their phones or find something they actually care about. Here's the thing. Every one of those ideas might feel true on the surface because people with ADHD can focus sometimes. They can be incredibly productive. They can show up fully for the things they love. So what's actually going on? Why does ADHD look so inconsistent? Why does it show up differently in different people? And why is it so wildly misunderstood even by the people who have it? I'll tell you this, I'm a psychologist, and for most of my life, I assumed that what was going on with me was about trauma entirely. I had experienced a lot of it, and so much of my graduate training seemed to confirm my hypothesis. And it wasn't until one of my kids started raising some questions for me and I went in on the research that I started to see myself in what I was learning. It wasn't only trauma. It was ADHD and autism. But today's about ADHD. And once I knew that, a lot of things finally made sense. Hi, I'm Dr. Colleen Cira, an AuDHD psychologist and mom who combines research and lived experience to help you see, support, and celebrate every kind of mind. And today, we're going to cut through a lot of the noise and talk about what ADHD actually is and what it isn't. Let's start with what the official diagnosis actually says, because most people have never actually read it. We just hear about it on social media. So ADHD stands for Attention Deficit Hyperactivity Disorder. It is a neurodevelopmental condition, meaning it's rooted in how the brain developed, not a character flaw, not a choice, not mom's fault, not a phase that someone will grow out of. The diagnosis has three presentations. The first is predominantly inattentive. This is what a lot of people picture when they think about ADHD in women and girls. Difficulty sustaining attention, getting easily distracted, losing things constantly, forgetting what you were just doing. It can look like spacing out, daydreaming, or being disorganized. It's often missed, especially in kids who are quiet and compliant, because they're not causing problems in the classroom. They're just struggling on the inside. Growing up, my parents used to joke that I could never find anything. When I was little and hunting for my Easter basket, they would have to play hot and cold with me because I genuinely could not locate it on my own, trying my hardest, very motivated. That didn't go away as I got older. Earrings, keys, phones, cameras, sunglasses. Losing things became such a running joke in my house that my husband has an easy birthday gift for me every single year because he knows that I will have lost my sunglasses at some point throughout the year, every year without fail. Number two, predominantly hyperactive, impulsive. This is the presentation that gets caught more often in childhood, especially in boys. Fidgeting, leaving your seat, talking excessively, interrupting people, struggling to wait. In adults, the hyperactivity often goes internal, a racing mind, restlessness, the feeling that you can just never fully settle. I have the combined type, so this one is mine too. I'm impulsive, and honestly, that's been a gift as much as it's been a liability. It's part of what let me start multiple businesses as a teenager and now as an adult, all of which I'm really genuinely proud of. Quick decisions, high risk tolerance, moving before I talk myself out of it. That's the Ferrari engine doing something useful. But it's also gotten me into trouble in plenty of other ways throughout my life. As for sitting still, right now, as I was putting this together, writing this, I was pacing around my living room, and that's just what my body does. So if you ever meet me in person, you'll probably notice me playing with my nails. That's what I'm doing as we record this. They're always painted specifically so I don't tear them off altogether. My brain is always going a million miles an hour. It's distracting. It's sometimes overwhelming, but it's also where a lot of the creativity and energy comes from. Both things are true. So a combined presentation is just that. It's both the inattentive as well as the hyperactive, impulsive symptoms, all present together at once. And this is actually one of the most common presentations. Symptoms have to be present in multiple settings, not just school or work, and they have to cause real impairment. And they have to have started before the age of 12, even if they weren't diagnosed until adulthood. That last part matters. A lot of adults are getting diagnosed now who spent decades being told that they were lazy, scattered, too much, not trying hard enough, etc. The symptoms were always there. It's just the diagnosis wasn't. Here's what I want you to understand. The name ADHD, attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, is terrible. Attention deficit implies there isn't enough attention, but that's not what's happening at all. ADHD is not an attention problem. It's a regulation problem. Specifically, it's a problem with regulating where attention goes, and that's a very different thing than lack of attention. One of the most useful ways I've heard it described is this. ADHD is an interest-based nervous system. The brain is not broken. It just runs on a different kind of fuel. Neurotypical brains can direct attention based on importance, deadlines, or someone telling them something that matters. The ADHD brain directs attention based on interest, challenge, novelty, urgency, or passion. When one of those things is present, the focus is real and powerful. When none of those things are present, the focus is almost impossible to manufacture, no matter how much you want it or how much is at stake. This is why ADHD looks so paradoxical from the outside. How can someone who can't do their taxes spend 6 hours deep in a project they love? How can someone who loses everything remember every detail of a conversation from 3 years ago? It's not inconsistency. It's an interest-based nervous system doing exactly what it does. A huge piece of this is dopamine. The ADHD brain has differences in how it produces and uses dopamine, the neurotransmitter connected to motivation, reward, and interest. See the connection? When there's enough dopamine through something interesting, stimulating, urgent, meaningful, the system activates. When there isn't, it stalls. That's not a willpower problem, that's neurobiology. Researcher Russell Barkley has described ADHD not as a disorder of attention, but as a disorder of self-regulation. The brain's executive functions, the systems that help you plan, prioritize, shift attention, regulate emotion, and follow through, work differently in the ADHD brain. A metaphor that captures this well is that the ADHD brain is a Ferrari engine with bicycle brakes. There's enormous power, real capacity, genuine speed. The problem isn't the engine, it's that the system for regulating all of that power doesn't match it. And that mismatch, not a lack of ability, is what creates so much of the struggle. Okay, let's get into some of the myths because there are a lot of them and they cause real harm. Myth number 1, ADHD isn't real. Lots of people in parts of the country still believe that. But here's the truth. ADHD is one of the most researched conditions in all of psychiatry. Decades of neuroimaging, genetic research, and longitudinal studies confirm its real, heritable, neurobiological difference. Dismissing it isn't a neutral position. It causes people to go undiagnosed and unsupported for years and sometimes decades. Myth number 2, ADHD is overdiagnosed. This one is complicated. In some communities, white, middle class, male, there may be over-identification. But in many others, women, girls, adults, people of color, ADHD is chronically underdiagnosed. The loudest version of ADHD got and gets the most attention. The quieter, more internalized presentations still get missed. Myth number 3, if you can focus, sometimes you don't have ADHD. This might be the most damaging myth of all. ADHD brains can hyperfocus. They can perform under pressure. They can function in environments with enough stimulation, novelty, urgency, or personal interest. That does not mean they don't have ADHD. It means they have an interest-based nervous system and the right conditions were present at that time. Myth number 4, ADHD is a childhood condition. Research shows that ADHD persists into adulthood for the majority of people diagnosed in childhood. And a significant number of adults are being identified for the first time because their coping strategies mask the symptoms for years or because the demands of adult life finally exceeded their ability to compensate. Myth number 5, ADHD is just an excuse. Understanding why your brain works the way it does is not making excuses. It's gathering information. It's the foundation for actually getting the right support instead of continuing to fail at strategies designed for a brain you don't have. Okay, so even when the diagnosis is accurate, it often leaves a lot out. There are parts of ADHD that are real and significant and supported by research, but does not show up in the DSM at all. 1, emotional dysregulation. ADHD affects emotion the same way it affects attention. The brain struggles to regulate the intensity and the duration of emotional responses. Feelings hit fast and hard. Small frustrations can feel enormous. Joy is vivid. Disappointment is crushing. This isn't dramatic or immature, it's neurological. My moods have been all over the place forever. I can go from fine to flooded very fast, and I've always been impulsive, which I've said has served me, but also cost me things. I'll buy things that I will never return because I'll either forget or can't get the motivation to do what feels like a dreadfully boring and annoying task. My taxes are late almost every single year. The examples go on and on. 2, rejection sensitivity. Many people with ADHD experience what's called rejection sensitivity dysphoria, an intense emotional response to perceived criticism, rejection, or failure. Not hypothetical rejection, the perception of it, a delayed text, a tone in someone's voice. This can shape an entire relationship, a career, and most people with ADHD haven't heard it. 3 is time blindness. The ADHD brain often struggles to feel time passing. There's now and there's not now. Future deadlines don't feel real until they are immediate. This is why ADHD and chronic lateness, procrastination, and underestimating how long things take are so commonly linked. I was always late, still am if I'm not really actively managing it. And ADHD rarely travels alone because it's whole body wiring, so it frequently occurs with a long list of other conditions: anxiety disorders, depressive disorders, bipolar disorder, substance abuse disorder, autism spectrum disorder, tic disorder, Tourette's syndrome, learning disorders like dyslexia, sleep-disordered breathing, migraines, and allergic conditions like asthma, eczema, and food allergies. A lot of people spend years collecting diagnoses and treatments that help a little but never feel like they get quite to the root. If any of this sounds familiar, you should be curious about ADHD. The point is this: ADHD is not one thing. It's a whole nervous system difference that touches attention, emotion, regulation, time, and relationships. When you only know the surface level version, you can spend years wondering why you're still struggling, even though you're trying so hard. I spent a long time thinking something was wrong with me, and something was going on, but it was not what I thought. Getting the right frame changed everything, not because it fixed anything overnight or at all, but because I finally stopped fighting myself and started working with my brain instead. If this video is making you wonder whether you or someone you love might have ADHD, that's worth paying attention to. At my practice, Cira Center for Behavioral Health, we offer virtual diagnostic assessments at accessible pricing because getting answers should not require an enormous wait list or a small fortune. The link to learn more is in the description. And if you already know your neurotype and you're looking for community, education, and real support, Healing Haven is my online membership for neurodivergent adults and parents of neurodivergent children, and really anyone curious about neurodiversity. We go deep every month on a new theme. The link is also in the description as well. Next week, we're going deeper into the ADHD nervous system, emotional dysregulation, rejection sensitivity, dopamine, and why your brain is not broken. It just runs on different fuel. Subscribe so you don't miss it.